Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 172. Andrew Eisen here. Okay, so the first thing I would like to talk about tonight is actor Kumail Nanjiani and his buff bod. Um, Nanjiani is in the upcoming Marvel movie The Eternals, and like so many actors before him, he took a year or so to train, and now he's all muscular and buff. And like all muscular and well, not all, but and like many muscular and buff people do, he posed shirtless on Instagram, so we can all delight over his chiseled pecs and such. Now, what I found most interesting about this is not the fact that Mr. Nanjiani is now chiseled, but it's the way he posted it and the message he posted it with, which I will read for you now. He said, "I never thought I'd be one of those people who would post a thirsty shirtless, but I've worked way too hard for way too long, so here we are. You either die a hero, live long enough, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Dark Knight. I found out a year ago I was going to be in Marvel's Eternals and decided to transform how I looked. I would have not been able to do this had it not been for a full year with the best trainers and nutritionists paid for by the biggest studio in the world. Glad I look like this, but I also understand why I never did before. It would have been impossible without these resources and time. So, big thanks to this person who started working with me at the beginning of the year, make me understand true physical pain for months and months, and once we started shooting, massive thanks to some other people in their team for training me almost every day and making me strong, limber, and injury-free. I can almost touch my toes now. I bet he can touch his toes. I bet he could touch his toes before. Touching your toes, really not too hard. Watch. Ooh, that's tough. All right. Thank you for forcing me to do cheat meals, David. Yes, cheat meals are actually important. And the best part, really. Matthew's Street Catering for their delicious and healthy meals. And finally, biggest thanks goes to some other person for putting, I think that might be his spouse, Emily V. Gordon, for putting up with me complaining and talking about only working out and dieting for the last year. Promise I'll be interesting again someday. Hashtag thirsty shirtless. Edit left off another important person, this person who trained me for 6 years and helped me build the foundation I could use to do this. Thank you. Okay, so what I wanted to mention about this is I adore that Nanjiani is specifically pointing out that he, quote, would not have been able to do this if he didn't have a full year with the best trainers and nutritionists paid for by the biggest studio in the world. I love the fact that he spends a full paragraph crediting a bunch of people who were paid while he was also being paid to look how he does. Because I think that's important, because I think a lot of people will look at, especially celebrities and Hollywood actors and such, at their impossible bodies and feel terrible about themselves. I love the fact that Nanjiani says, yeah, I look good without a shirt. Drink it up, ladies, and everyone else. But, this is kind of impossible by yourself. For the vast majority of us, I would never be able to do this by myself. Disney is paying me to do this and paying a bunch of other people to help me. So I think that's really important to get out there, and I commend Mr. Nanjiani for saying so. And you look good, dude. Well done. So, was he the guy from The Big Bang Theory? I have no idea. He was in The Big Sick. He was in Stuber, I think it was called, a fairly recent movie with another dude plays Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. Dave Bautista, I think his name is. I don't know if he's in Big Bang Theory or not. I'm not a big sitcom kind of guy, but I found Big Bang Theory to be particularly insufferable. Jordan says Mrs. Magian. Oh, his missus, yeah. I wonder what it costs to look like $1,000,000. Probably less than $1,000,000. I doubt Disney invested $1,000,000 in Nanjiani's physique, but it's beyond my pay grade. I mean, I spend man, if you total gym fees and food. It's a fair amount of money on my budget, and I only look like this. So anyway, be interesting to see how Eternals turns out. Let's see. All right, so next, I did see Star Wars today. I'm going to say a couple things about it, no spoilers. We'll save Star Wars Rise of Skywalker talk for next week, give everyone a chance to see it. Because, it's holidays, a lot of us are busy. A lot of people are going to see Rise of Skywalker. I didn't see it the first weekend. Um, Mainly because I'm cheap, and for some reason AMC, which are the theaters nearest me, um, are charging an extra $1.50 for Rise of Skywalker tickets. I don't know why. It's it's possible Disney is just charging theaters more because it can, and AMC is just passing the cost along. But I haven't seen that surcharge, that premium at any other theater. So it's possible AMC's just doing that because it can. I don't know, but I'm too cheap to pay it. So instead, I drove a few miles out of my way to go to Regal Cinema, and I saw it this morning. You know, it might have been worth the extra $1.50 just for padded armrests. Hey, Regal, yeah. Listen, um, try sitting in one of your chairs for 2.5 hours. Are you done? Okay. Pad your goddamn armrests. Their armrests are just solid hard plastic. There's no padding on the armrest. It is so uncomfortable. Anyway, but I guess at least they're not putting a $1.50 premium on Rise of Skywalker tickets. Um, if you listen closely to the soundtrack of Rise of Skywalker, you're probably busy watching the movie in the middle of the movie, so stay for the credits and listen to the music during the credits. You will notice, or maybe you won't, I did, some bars from Into the Unknown from Frozen 2 as part of the Star Wars soundtrack, which I thought was kind of odd, but probably not intentional. It's probably just a complete the ba da da da. That that's in there. That sequence. Uh, I noticed it. I was like, we're cannibalizing the Frozen 2 soundtrack. I see what we're doing there. The other thing I'll say about Rise of Skywalker Who Rose is overall, what did I think? It's all right. I found it a frustrating mixed bag. But there's spaceships and laser swords. It's an entertaining 2.5 hours in the theater. So I mean, even the worst Star Wars, which I personally would consider, I've not seen the Christmas special. So for me, worst Star Wars is probably the prequel trilogy. But even then, even though the movies aren't good, and to me they're not, um, they're fine little popcorn flicks. Again, spaceships, laser swords, pew pew pew. you know, so so even bad Star Wars is still pretty entertaining. But I don't think Rise of Skywalker is bad. I think it's a mixed bag. I think it has a lot of really great ideas that are not fully fleshed out. Um, Feels rushed. Probably was. Colin Trevorrow was originally slated to direct this, and they replaced him with J.J. Abrams. So it's possible they just started from scratch and didn't push back the release date, and so it was. It also feels like Abrams had like two movies that he tried to jam into one movie. The film it's interesting because I'm not going into spoilers. We'll talk specifics next week, but the movie feels rushed, and it's 2.5 hours long, which is kind of weird, right? It's like, how does this movie feel like it's rushing when it's 2.5 hours long? But it does. I don't think. again, there are some really great ideas, and some really fun things, but it just doesn't really gel into a narratively cohesive whole, I don't think. Um, Again, not saying it's bad, not saying I am sad I went, not saying it's, oh, that's the way they ended, oh, all this lost Star Wars is forever ruined. No, no, it's fine, it's fine. It it could have used another year in the hopper, I think, because I like a lot of the things they were doing. I think the execution just wasn't there, and it feels like time constraints may have been a factor. Some of the effects work I don't think is quite there either. Something else that makes it feel like it was, they were on a, hang on, they were on a bit of a time crunch with that one. But, this is not the end of Star Wars. There will be more stars to war in. So, yay. Let's see what chat is saying. Let me move my little window here. Jordan says, I wanted Ewoks. I got Ewoks. I'm happy. Okay, yeah, there is a shot of Ewoks in the movie. And according to the end credits, that's Wicket. And that's Warwick Davis. I Which is funny because Dennis Lawson is in there for like literally a second and a half, and I instantly knew who that was. And if you, I mean, is that a spoiler? Is it okay if I don't tell you who that is, and if you don't know, it's okay? I don't know. But I did not recognize Wicket. I recognized Ewoks, but neither of them looked like Wicket to me. I'd have to go back and look. But I noticed in the credits that that was supposed to be Wicket. So, Um, Brian says, I've heard of other places that had a price hike. It might be a Disney thing that's only being passed on in certain places. It's true, could be a regional thing, could be certain theaters. The only ones I've seen near me are AMC, and it's all of them. Regal's not doing it. Landmark's not doing it. There's another smaller one here. I forget what it's called. Ultra something. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Uh, Jordan says next you're gonna want butter on your popcorn. Jesus, Andrew, so demanding. Brian says, so what are you're saying is Elsa's a Jedi? Yes. I swear, Disney's got to do Disney Princess Avengers or something like that. That'd be great. Um, let's see. Jordan says, knowing how OP Ray is, I halfway expected her to physically run across the waves. She dives in and swims. That was funny because they're like, yeah, you've seen the shot in the trailer where the Death Star is sitting in the middle of an ocean somewhere, and they're like, we gotta go. And it's like, yeah, but the waves are kind of high, so we'll have to go in the morning when I'm sure they'll be better. And of course, Ray takes off, and Finn and Poe are like, where the hell did she go? Oh no, she left. And this was before they established that they had boats. So my first thought was, what is she swimming? I mean, she's force flying? I get no, she takes a boat. It's fine, but whatever. Brian says, I agree. For all the flack the prequel trilogy gets, some parts are worth the price of admission, like the Darth Maul double duel. Uh, the battle of, oh, what is that sound? That battle of fates or something? Yeah, the Qui-Gon Obi-Wan Maul battle is a little over choreographed, but it's a lot of fun, and there's some good. The interesting thing about the prequel trilogy is I think it could have been good. Um, it just wasn't. I think the very basic general idea of the trilogy is interesting and could have been good. It's just not. Oh well. Duel of the Fates. Thank you, Chaos. So anyway, Star Wars. Yay, Star Wars. I'll talk more about specific Star Warsy stuff next week. But let's move to different Star Warsy stuff. Mandalorian Episode 8. So Mandalorian is dead. No, I'm sorry. Done. Mandalorian, the show, the season 1 is done. Season 2 is being made and will be out next fall. Um, I was fine with the ending. It was a strong episode. I am going to go full spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, sorry. So, it was good, it was fun, but it also feels rushed. Then again, TV show, these things often are. Because there were a lot of things in the show that were set up and then just either immediately resolved or they just didn't do anything with. For example, um, Mandalorian is like, I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one for anyone who hasn't seen it. But they're trying to escape through the sewers, and they make a big deal about, oh, we're lost. Oh, we don't know where to go. Oh, it could be anywhere. Oh, there it is, and they just immediately find it. And it's like, oh, well, if they just immediately find their destination, then there's no point to setting up a whole we're lost in this maze of a sewer thing. That's just weird. Um, as you might expect, Mandalorian gets his jetpack. They tease that in episode 3. And the armorer, Mandalorian, says, have you trained in the ways of the fire dragon fist? I don't know what this has to do with your jetpack, but whatever. He goes, oh, yeah. And she's like, she intimates that jetpack use takes training and practice and clarity of mind. I guess it's mind controlled or something. I really don't know. Um, but he just straps it on and flies. So I don't know what the whole point of that was. Just give him the damn jetpack. He, um, and there's some other things, just some kind of inconsistent things. Like at the beginning of the episode, um, Mandalorian, Carl Weathers, Taika Waititi droid, and Cara Dune, the only character's name I remember, take on a battalion of like 30, 40 stormtroopers, and they do okay. They survive. End of the episode, they're like in a little boat flown down a river of lava, which is neat. And they're like, oh no, there's a whole battalion up ahead, a whole fleet, squadron, platoon. It's like 10 dudes. It's like, wait, but you guys, all 4 of you faced off against like 4 times that number. Why is this group of 10 or 12 dudes now a problem? And it's probably they just couldn't get that many extras or that many costumes done. I don't know, but it's one of those things. Still, kind of nitpicky stuff that pulls me out of the show. But um, Jordan says, is Mando celibate? I don't know. Jordan goes on, doing the nasty is awkward with the helmet on. I don't know. Some people might find that a turn on. It's definitely sweaty in there, though. I hope. I like the fact that they established that he doesn't always wear the helmet. He does take it off to eat or shower. You know, and I hope he's got that spray that they use for the inside of bowling shoes. It takes, when he's alone, takes off, fumigate that sucker, wipe the inside out with some wet wipes or something. But no, what's his face? Django. No. Boba was a clone that he just took. Wait a minute. Django had his helmet off all the time. That's not the way. That's not the way, Django. It's almost like they made this stuff up in the middle of this. Oh, whatever, doesn't matter. What do I think of the new upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 game? Uh, Looks fine, I guess. Hi, Suzanne. Let's see, Mandalorian. Baby Yoda is going to be raised to be a Mandalorian, and I want to see what Baby Yoda's helmet is going to look like. Will Baby Yoda's ears stick through the Mandalorian helmet, or will the helmet like have big metal hollow bits on the side, or will it just be like a really wide helmet? Of course, if Baby Yoda at toddler age, is 50 years old at toddler age, Mandalorian's going to have to be a couple hundred years old or something before Baby Yoda takes up the mantle. Um, I really liked Moff Gideon. Looked up the actor who I wasn't familiar with, TV actor, and really compelling presence. I really enjoyed his just standing there yelling at Mandalorian and Cara Dune and Carl Weathers. Really, I have the hope to see more of him. He's got presence. I like that. I wonder if what's interesting is they reveal that Cara Dune is a native of Alderaan, but they don't explain why that's significant. You have to remember a very specific line from a 40-year-old movie to know why that is significant. Alderaan is the planet that the Empire blew up in Star Wars back in '77, Leia's home planet. So that's why Kara is not really happy with the Imperials. The show opens with two stormtroopers after they kill Nick Nolte and steal Baby Yoda, just kind of hanging out in their hover bikes, waiting for the bureaucracy wheels to grind, and they're just killing time. I could, if they're dead now, but I could watch an entire show of just stormtroopers off duty or stormtroopers just they're not in the action. They're just doing menial, boring stuff. I found one of them was Jason Sudeikis. I don't know who the other one was, but they were really funny. I enjoyed them very much. And they do a thing where they're bored and they start shooting at a cannon and they just miss. It's like 20 feet away and they like what's why is this gun missing? Stormtroopers are terrible shots. That joke never gets old. I really like the way they animate the Taika Waititi droid. He's got this very stuttery animation that makes him look almost stop motion animated. I just like that aesthetic. I think it's really neat. Um, Gideon has a dark saber. Him showing it off was at least a lot more motivated than Darth Maul showing off his double-bladed saber at the end of Solo, which was completely unmotivated and made no damn sense. Um, Jordan says, when Golden Mando Lady, the armorer, was fighting the troopers, I thought it'd be awesome if all of a sudden she gets stabbed in the back and through the chest with a black saber, then revealing Moff Gideon. Yeah, that would have been one way to do it, but this is another thing, is she's like, I'm going to stay here and clean up shop. And then 5 or 6 stormtroopers show up, and she mops the floor with them, and that's the last you ever see with her. And it's like, okay. So, did they send anyone else after her? Did they just ignore her now? Hmm. So, but still, overall, I quite enjoyed the show. It could use some more time, I think. For example, Mandalorian's hatred of droids and his evolving relationship in the way he regards IG-11 is a great arc. It's just compressed into about 90 seconds. That could have been paced better. I think it would have had a. I mean, Pedro Pascal and to an extent Taika Waititi just sell it anyway. But yeah, could have could have used a bit more build. Oh well. Let's see. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about Mandalorian. Overall I enjoyed it. Um, oh, Ming Na Wen is. They never went back to her. I mean, she's ostensibly dead, but they have a shot of somebody walking up to her corpse. Dun dun dun. That never came back. Season 2, I guess. Um, but yeah, Mandalorian. So now what do we do with Disney Plus until the fall when the next season of Mandalorian drops, or one of the Marvel things, Captain America and or Bucky and Falcon, or Winter Soldier and Falcon, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, whatever it's called, WandaVision. Whenever those, I guess we can all just watch High School Musical over and over. That sounds like fun. So to go back to what Colin was asking me about Cyberpunk 2077, um, I think it's certainly ambitious. I like what they're trying to do. Um, I, I'm more interested in just kind of wandering around the world and looking at the sites and seeing how you can interact with it. And the world building I find more interesting than the actual gameplay that I've seen so far. The gameplay looks kind of standard. Um, Not that that's a bad thing, but none of the actual gameplay looks we've seen yet really stood out to me. Um, but I like the world, and it has the potential to be very cool. So it's something I definitely have my eye on, but it's not anything that's really grabbed me and said, "Ooh, you've got to buy this when it comes out." Um, so yeah, we'll see. When I don't know when that thing's coming out. Probably on the next generation consoles. It'll probably be a. They might do a dual release, like it'll be on the current PlayStation and Xbox and the new one, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. So yeah, looks fine. I'm the fan of Deus Ex. I can't remember which one it is. Is it Human Revolution? I think it was the one that came before that. Let me see if I can spot it on my shelf. Um, no, 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 don't see it. I forget what was the first. Okay, there's Deus Ex, there's Invisible War, then there was I think there was like a third one, and then there was the one that came out a few years ago. Human Revolution I think was the one that came out a couple years ago. The one that was before that. Uh, why can I not remember what it's called? And why do my PS3 games start with Heavy Rain? Is that really the earliest one I have? Was it a was it what console did I play it on? I don't even remember. Um, Hang on. Google to the rescue. Not that this matters at all. Uh, no, it was Human Revolution. Mankind Divided was the newer one. I think. Whatever. Okay. So, moving on. Jordan says, now that Disney owns 20th Century Fox, we need an Aliens versus Empire mini-movie. Sure. Sure. Yeah, I mean, crossover, Star Wars. I think there's been a Star Wars Marvel crossover in comics. Maybe I'm just making that up. Yawn. Yawn break. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Alright, last topic I have written down. Resident Evil 2 Remake. So I got a Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I started playing Resident Evil 2 Remake. And Resident Evil 2 is... I kind of waffle back and forth on whether I'm a bigger fan of Resident Evil 2 or 3. It's kind of like which of the original Night, Dawn, or Day do you like best? It kind of depends on when you ask me. Um, I'm sorry. So Resident Evil 2 remake. One of the things I really, really love about Resident Evil 2, the original, is the fact that you play as Leon. You can play as Leon. You can play through the game as Leon. You can play through the game as Claire. But when you do that, um, you see so say you start the game with Leon, then you play Claire. You're not just playing through the same game again. You're playing through the same game. You're seeing it from her. You know how I've always advocated that would be really cool if there was a second quest in Zelda Skyward Sword where you followed Zelda and Impa, see what they were doing while Link was doing his quest. It's kind of like that. When you play as Leon, you run into Claire a couple of times, and you talk with her on the walkie-talkie, and stuff that she's doing affects your campaign, and stuff you're doing affects her. Um, and then you play as her, and you can see it from her side. Now, one of the things that didn't quite line up is they both ended up doing some of the same puzzles. Like both of them ended up extinguishing the helicopter wreckage, which was kind of weird. It's like, wait a minute, didn't Leon get the valve and turn on the water to extinguish the helicopter wreck? Why is Claire doing that? Because then the game would be 20 minutes long because all the puzzles are done by Leon. Um, but there's a lot of stuff like Leon, the helicopter crashes through a building, and so there's a so they can't get into a particular door. Then he hears on the radio later that Claire has blown up the wall or something. When you play through her campaign, you end up finding the explosives to blow up the wall. Um, when you play through as Leon, you fight William Birkin as he continues to mutate. But then when you play through as Claire, you see different stages of that mutation. Um, and that's just really neat. So you see how these stories intertwine. Resident Evil 2 Remake does essentially the same thing, but it feels more like a remix than it does an actual Claire's side of the story. Jordan says, didn't they redesign Nemesis a bit? Well, they're going to in the Resident Evil 3 remake, which comes out in a couple of months. Nemesis is not in Resident Evil 2. Mr. X is a tyrant that stalks you. That's another thing about the original Resident Evil 2 is in the second scenario, Mr. X is stalking you around and pops out of walls and stuff, and Leon or whoever you play first doesn't see that. In Resident Evil 2 Remake, like I said, it feels more like a remix than it does the other side of the story because, again, they both extinguish the helicopter, but they both have the same. I'm only halfway through Claire's scenario, but we both extinguish the helicopter. We're both chased around by Mr. X. We both fight the same exact version of William Birkin. Might change up a little bit, but I miss how truly other side of the coin the second scenarios felt in the original Resident Evil 2. I think one thing that really makes us feel more like a remix than a other side of the coin is Claire and Leon their paths don't interact much. They're separated at the beginning of the game, then they meet once in the police station, and then once again at the beginning of the game. That's so it doesn't really feel like they're both in the same place. In the original game, I think they meet like they cross paths like twice after they get split up. And they also Actually, no, I'm thinking of two different scenarios. So they meet up once, but they keep in contact two or three times over radio. Leon or Claire, one of them says, "Hey, I'm heading into the sewer to go somewhere. Follow when you can." Okay, gotcha. It feels like they're both there in the same space. This one, they don't do that. They just meet at the police station, and then you don't see her or hear from her until the very end of the game. So I miss that. Jordan says, I completely agree with remakes existing, but I'm too much of a gaming purist and want to experience them on their original consoles if I haven't played them before. No, I agree. I like them both. Generally, I'm not much for like remasters, but Resident Evil 2 is genuinely a different game. It plays completely differently. It's a remake in the truest sense that they remade it. The broad strokes are there. Claire and Leon police station, but the details are all different. The script is completely different. Uh, a lot of new locations, a lot of locations really expanded upon. Um, Resident Evil 2, one playthrough, um, will probably only take about 4 or 5 hours. Your first time through, not knowing where anything is or how anything works or what to do. My first trip through Resident Evil 2 remake took, I think, 8.5 hours. So it's a much meatier game. Again, it plays very differently. So I do think it's important to. I do recommend anyone who played the remake and enjoyed it. If you haven't played the original, either on PlayStation or uh, it was on the N64, it's on the GameCube. Find a copy and play it. It holds up. One thing that they do with the remake is it still retains its B movie cheese, but it's much more modernly sensible in the way it presents it. The acting is much better. No master of unlocking kind of dialogue. The dialogue is arch and it is cheesy, but it comes off not incompetent, but more earnest, and I think that that really helps it. Uh, the story also is a little bit more clear, I think, in the way it's presented in remake, at least so far. Um, Pardon me. So overall, it's fun to play too. It's just hiccup. It's a lot of fun to play. A little dark in places. If anything, I would have asked Capcom to work on the flashlight effects and stuff a little bit more, because when you're in dark hallways and your character turns on a flashlight, you can't see anything if you're too close to it because the light cone just kind of clips through whatever you're looking at. So sometimes it can be hard to spot pickups and collectibles. In Resident Evil 7, they had little bobbleheads that you could find and shoot just for an achievement. They have something very similar in this game. They are a little hard to spot in dark areas just because of the flashlight can be a tad finicky. It's not bad. It's just a little finicky. That could have used some massaging. Um, One thing I was concerned about uh, going into the game is that Mr. X would be annoying. In that, in the original game, the encounters with Mr. X are uh, scripted. So you'll just be doing a thing, and suddenly Mr. X bursts through a wall. Ah! In this game, once Mr. X appears, he just chases you throughout the entire map. And I was concerned that my playstyle, I would be annoyed by that because of the way I play. I play Resident Evil slowly and methodically, and I creep along, and I look at all the set decoration. Because one of the nice things about Resident Evil, the originals when they had pre-rendered backgrounds, and this one, which are not pre-rendered, is the set decoration is really really nice. There's all kinds of items on the desks and shelves and posters on the wall, just neat stuff to look at. The locations are dressed in a way that tell a story. So you can look around and see, ooh, what happened here? There's blood on the wall here. Someone obviously did. The set decoration tells a story, and I love observing that. But if Mr. X is just constantly chasing you, then you're going to be rushed through the areas. You can't play leisurely like I like to. Also, I was afraid of constantly, oh, I'm going in this room and I need to do a puzzle. Up. Mr. X came in, I got to run out the door, up the stairs, across the second, landed down the ladder on the other side, and come back in. And I'm like, that would probably just annoy me. Luckily, Mr. X doesn't actually show up until near the end of the police station section when you've unlocked most all of the doors. So most of the rooms have a table or something in the center, so you can kite around the edge and get around them. By the time Mr. X shows up, you've opened up so many doors and stuff that it's fairly easy to run around and back to where you were. So it does happen where you're trying to do a thing and Mr. X interrupts you and you have to go the long way around to get back to what you were doing. And that can be a little irritating, but it's at the very end of that sequence. So I think they chose a good time to introduce them. So hasn't been a problem, at least for me. Jordan says I've become more of a movie watcher than a game player, and people tell me the Resident Evil movies have little to nothing to do with the game series. That's true. What do you think about the day one patch for cats? Oh, I addressed this last week. I think it was rumored, or I had heard about it, but I couldn't confirm it. I confirmed it like an hour or two after the podcast that they actually released an unfinished film to theaters and then patched it a couple days later. I don't like that because now I'm less inclined to see a movie on opening week. Because if you see a movie opening weekend and then they patch it, do you get a refund, a rebate, your money back? Nope. You just got to go see it again. You saw an inferior product, and I don't want to see an inferior product. I'm glad at least that the Sonic movie, pushed back the release date by several months. They didn't just, let's just release it and then we'll patch it. Of course, it's not going to have that long of a theatrical run. I don't like the idea. I like all tools. The tool is not inherently good or bad. It's all in how it's used. And day one patching, just like with video games, has the potential to be abused. And it's probably just going to be abused. And I don't like it. Oh well. Jordan says I wanted to enjoy the decor for Alien Isolation, but Mr. Alien didn't make it easy. Yeah. Colin says, do I like the original Dawn of the Dead or the remake? I like the original Dawn of the Dead. I actually didn't like the remake. I thought it was kind of bad. Like genuinely bad. I didn't like it. Which is weird because most people agree that it's a Zack Snyder effort. Not that that's apropos of nothing. That it's the remake of Dawn of the Dead is really good. I'm like, really? Really? Because I didn't think so. I left the theater thinking, well, that kind of blew. Oh well. Teach their own. I mean, there were certainly elements I liked. There were sequences I thought worked well. There were some good ideas in it, but overall, I thought the movie was just kind of bad. So, chalk me down for liking the original better. Midsummer had a theatrical run for the director's cut, but it wasn't included in the home release. What the heck? Also, the Japanese Sonic movie trailer shows Baby Sonic. Yeah, Midsummer, I think they like had a special release months later with more footage. That's fine. That's just let's take a second bite of the apple with a new version of the movie. Yeah, I mean fine. But Cats was we didn't have all of our effect shots in on time, so we released the movie anyway. And we just, once we got the effect shots finished a few days later, we sent in. The nice thing is you can do that now because movies are generally not shipped on reels of film. They're they just pull them, download them from a server. Um, so yeah, sorry for anyone who saw Cats opening weekend. You saw an inferior product and you paid full price for it. That kind of sucks. I feel for you. I also feel for you because you saw Cats. Now, actually, I kind of want to see Cats. I'm not going to the theater to see it, but I would actually like to witness this horror at some point. Um, Jordan's, yeah. Also, what Jordan was saying about the director's cut's not on the home release. Yeah, it will probably be on a second release. They they do that a lot. The initial release will be fairly bare bones, and then they'll have a more elaborate edition later. Yeah, I mean, I know that special editions take time to do, but still, not a fan of the practice. Oh, yeah, I saw the Japanese trailer, which is teasing Baby Sonic. Hmm. All right. So it's kind of weird. Does So Sonic gets an or when I was a young little speedster. Really? But was that always in there, or did you guys see Baby Yoda and said, we might be able to make even more money with a Baby Sonic? I don't know. Although this is actually Baby Sonic, Baby Yoda and Mandalorian is just the child. Actually, Baby Yoda may now be the titular Mandalorian. Ah, so no, pardon me. So, any other questions or thoughts or topics you want me to hit before we say goodbye, say goodnight? Ooh, is Yakuza 7 out yet? Because I want to play Yakuza 7. Because Yakuza is great. It's not out yet. I think it comes out in January in Japan and sometime this year in America. And I'll cut him some slack. I appreciate getting it within a few months of the original's release, the Japanese release. Those games have a lot of stuff to translate, so those are amazingly time-consuming translation projects. So I'll cut him some slack for not having worldwide simultaneous releases. Hey Scotty, am I still liking DQ11? I'm not very far in it, but yeah, I've only got I've only got one companion with me so far. So I know you get like 5 or 6 companions. Uh, there's old dude, girl, and other girl, and then like jester carnival guy. I guess so. Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. I just have Eric, who I ranted about this in my new game fuss video for Dragon Quest XI, but you could have just had Eric be the main character. You could have just combined the protagonist with Eric. I genuinely don't know why RPG developers continue to do the silent, emotionless protagonist. Say what you will about Link not talking, but he has a personality and character, especially in games like Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, typically the more cartoony ones. But I mean, even in more serious ones like Twilight Princess or less so Breath of the Wild, um, you get a sense of. I say less so Breath of the Wild just because there's not a bunch of cutscenes in that one. Most of the cutscenes are fairly optional. You have to go looking for them. So it plays more like the old RPGs where you can just kind of guess what Link is saying and how he's reacting. But Link actually looks like he cares. It looks like he reacts to the world around him, unlike a lot of creative characters or um, RPG protagonists, like the protagonist of DQ11, who the most you will get out of him is a grunt, a nod, and a polite smile. Not necessarily all three, sometimes just one. And I showed a few examples in the New Game Fuss video, and it's off-putting, but it's actually almost funny. It almost makes me kind of want to read this character as a sociopath, like someone who has absolutely no empathy at all. He can't relate to anyone. Like the gal at the beginning of the game. Uh, he's just that's just the person who's there. He doesn't actually feel anything for her or care about her at all. He physically can't. That's kind of how that's my headcanon for this character, because that's how he acts. He's in the kingdom, and the kingdom's like, "Ah, you are the Hellspawn, and we found out you're from Cobblestone Village. We are going to raze it to the ground and kill everyone you ever loved." Are you listening? Because I'm just saying I'm going to kill your entire family, and you're standing there kind of blank-faced. I'm going to throw you in dungeon to rot. Just stands there and stares. This, okay, Dexter. Um, Jordan says, I don't think Baby Yoda is going to be Mandalorian. Imagine the custom helmet. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. Colin, have I ever seen all of the RoboCop movies or some of them? I have seen all of them that I know of. I've seen RoboCop 1, 2, and 3. I saw the miniseries Prime Directives, and I saw the remake, which was 5, 6 years ago. I know I have seen some of the cartoon, because I have very vague memory. Actually, I have very specific memories of certain scenes in the cartoon, so I must have seen the cartoon at some point. So, quick rundown. RoboCop, first one, the Paul Verhoeven movie. Fantastic movie. Just wonderful, wonderful film. Love that movie. RoboCop 2, not as good, but has a lot of really great ideas and does a lot of them so damn well. Doesn't entirely succeed, but I still feel that RoboCop 2 is a worthy follow-up to the first one. 3 is bad. It's really, really bad. It has some good ideas. It has some. It does, but yeah, it's just kind of bad movie. The Prime Directives miniseries was entertaining, and the new movie, the remake, was meh. It's okay. Didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. The thing that actually bothered me the most about the remake was there's a lot of stern and drum about RoboCop. Oh, RoboCop is doing all these. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. I did a debut. No, it was part of a series called 30 Days of Netflix. Go watch that review. I explain it better. But I remember being odded out because everyone in the movie kept complaining about RoboCop, and I was watching it going like, I don't understand what you guys' problem is. RoboCop works perfectly. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. I also, oh, we need to clean up old Detroit. I don't know. Detroit looks fine. Grass is green, sky is blue, birds are singing, children skipping rope. Everything looks good. I don't know what the problem is. Not a horrible movie, but I came out the other side of it thinking just kind of meh. Also, I do also remember probably one of the biggest misuses of score I've seen in a while. They bring back the RoboCop theme, but they use it in the wrong place. The RoboCop thing, the da 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 da. they introduce that theme comes in when Murphy first walks into the Detroit Police Department. You haven't even seen the character yet. You don't. He's not RoboCop. He's Murphy. You haven't even seen him. You don't know who it is. I'm like, who decided to put the RoboCop theme there? It makes no sense there. Anyway, Jordan says, "What if it turned out Link never found a reason to speak, so he just didn't?" I always thought I've mentioned this many, many times, but I always thought, instead of just having a silent protagonist like Link, for example, not speaking for no discernible reason, why not make the character deaf? And the character actually signs to communicate if you don't want them to talk. That'd be interesting. You could even get some gameplay mechanics out of it. Although there have been 2 games in the last couple of years with deaf protagonists, and both of them were bad. But that doesn't mean it can't be done well. Also, representation. Yay. Don't get me started on Ghostbusters. We'll be here for hours. Yeah, probably. But we don't know anything about Ghostbusters yet, so we don't know much about it, so I've said about all I have to say about it. I always think of Link as this, especially, I was thinking about Navi, because someone had mentioned I think when they were trying to do a Zelda Netflix series, someone was like, what are they going to do with Navi? Is Navi going to be there going, hey, listen the entire time? And I was thinking about that, and I was like, what if Link is like, has some type of attention deficit where he can't concentrate on a single task. He just constantly is being distracted by, he's the hero of Hyrule. He has the Triforce of courage, and he's supposed to go save the princess and slay Ganon. But it's like, ooh, Bombchu bowling, ooh, fishing, gotta get the Hylian Loach. And he's just completely scatterbrained and distracted. He just can't focus, and that's why Navi's always flying around going, hey, listen! Go save Hyrule, you jackass! I'd do it, but I don't have arms! I'm just a glowing ball of light with wings. And Navi's just at her wit's end, just completely exasperated, trying to actually, he probably doesn't even need any attention and deficit disorder type of thing. He could just be young, because Link oftentimes is a kid, like, 8 years old. it's like, yeah, okay, he's 8 years old. He gets distracted. A squirrel. It could be a fun way to handle the character. Who knows? Colin says, I think that the 2014 RoboCop model looks better. I wholeheartedly disagree. I like the original. In fact, when they at the end of the movie, I think it's the end of the movie, they give him a silver, more bulky look, and I'm like, yeah, that looks a lot better. But maybe it's just because I'm old and I grew up with the original. Jordan says, who doesn't want RoboCop theme playing as you make coffee or taking a shower? There are some pretty badass themes. The RoboCop theme's one. The theme from Predator. Da 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 da. Where you could, it's like anything you do, making breakfast, brushing your teeth, with that theme playing, it's just everything is badass and epic. Jordan says, having a Legend of Zelda show or movie where Link breaks into houses for gems would be even funnier in that medium. Yeah, Navi trying to exasperately trying to. It's like, no, Link, you gotta knock. You can't just walk into someone's house. No, Link, put it down. No, don't. Oh God. Link's just this. Brian says, sorry, family called. We'll watch later. Good night. Good night, Brian. We're about done here anyway, so I think I'm just rambling now, so that's a good place to wrap up. I must eat dinner. My grumbling tummy says so. Oh, I think I think I offended some door-to-door evangelicals earlier today. Wasn't my intention, but they seemed a little bit put off by the fact that I said, as soon as they introduced themselves and made it clear who they were and what they wanted, I said, no thank you, and I shut the door. And I could hear them through the door, and they seemed a little put off. I mean, I did say no thank you instead of what I was actually thinking. Because I, I am a jerk, but I try not to be. I do try to be polite. So, yeah. So, anyway, I mean, seriously, how would you like it if I came knocking at your door at 5:30 in the afternoon on a weekend and said, "Hi, would you like to talk about Ghostbusters?" No, no. Who are you? Go away. No, go away. What, what makes you think I want to do? No, no, nobody does. I, sometimes I've been almost curious enough to seek out someone who actually does door-to-door evangelizing and ask them, has that, in the history of door-to-door evangelizing, has it ever worked? Ever? Like once? I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you managed to hand out some pamphlets, which at least gets your name out there. You know, because a lot of people are like, all right. You know, some people are just feel bad about shutting the door in someone's face. You know, I get that, but I feel bad, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because I don't want to talk to you. Um, I mean, have you ever come across anyone who is like, "Oh my gosh, yes! I was just sitting here on the weekend hoping that someone would come to my door and talk to me about Jesus." Let's talk about this at length. Has that ever happened? I I mean, you know, occasionally you'll knock on the door of a churchgoer who will probably be happy to talk about stuff like that. But if you're knocking on the door of someone who's not already predisposed to talk God at length, I just don't. It seems like an enormous waste of time to me. But, you know, as long as you're not abusive about it, you know, you do you. Yeah. Feel free to knock on my door. Yeah. But also, I'm going to tell you to go away. I'm not interested in talking to you, and I hope you can accept that. Um, Chaos says probably has happened somewhere. You would think so. I mean, it almost feels like the junk mail flyers that are left in my mailbox every single day. There is a recycle bin near all the mail cubbies, and it's full of those. And I'm like, it must be worth it to them to print those up every day, even though the vast majority, if not everyone, just instantly throws them away, recycles them without looking at them. Um, Jordan, have you found Jesus? Yeah, he's at church. Door closed. Yeah. There's been odd times when I've been depressed and Mormons showed up to give me free therapy. You know, again, I can be a jerk, and you know, I mean, if I wanted to prank them, I could do something like that. You know, start unloading all my problems on them, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, it's just you know, all right." But I try not to be antagonistic, and I also, I'm a person who does not want my time wasted, and so I try not to waste anyone else's time. You know, um, I did. I did have a very zealous, not in the zealot sense, but a very zealous door-to-door evangelical once, um, who was like, wait, if I can prove God or the Bible or something, will you? I don't know, whatever he wanted. Listen, come to church, hear me out, something. And I said, normally I would just say no and shut the door, but no, I was in the mood that day. So I said, all right, you get one. You get one. Um, take your best shot, Mac. Give me your single best proof that the Bible is whatever you say it is. And now I'm not saying whoever this person at my door was the best representative of Christianity. I think so. I'm not condemning all of Christianity based on this one dude, but yeah, his one proof sucked. Basically, he was saying that the Bible uh, predicted, or he was saying that his premise was that there were scientific concepts and explanations in the Bible before mainstream science had actually discovered them. And so the example he gave was, I kid you not, the water cycle. The fact that water evaporates and precipitates. That was not a yeah not agriculture way predates the Bible. We've been taking advantage of the water cycle and rain and stuff for much longer than the Bible's been around. No, the that just man, wow, dude, just anyway. So so I shut the door on him. I did it politely. I didn't call him names. I didn't like laugh at him or anything, but I politely informed him that you know we knew about the weather cycle long before the Bible. We've been farming and using that long before the Bible. The Bible didn't suddenly out of nowhere come up with this information. Oh my God, we can grow wheat now. It doesn't work that way. All right, so. Yeah, the flying spaghetti monster. Jordan says, I'm surprised most religions didn't lose most of their credibility after the endless crusades. Yeah, not a crusades. One of many things that were not a good look for the religions involved. But I'm not a religious person, as you all can probably divine. I don't have a problem with anyone who is religious, because I think I understand why someone would be religious. I get it. I think, anyway. I understand the existential terror of dying and non-existence, and it's comforting thinking that there, that everything's okay, everything's going to be okay. There's more after this. Someone's got our back. As bad as things can at times seem, it's all part of a greater plan. Blah blah. I get that. It's comforting to think that. I would really prefer there to be something after I die other than non-existence, because, as I said, existentially terrifying. That crap keeps me up at at night. I try not to think about it. I would much prefer there being some type of afterlife. Even if I want to know what happens hundreds of years from now. Life's too darn short, darn it. So I get why that belief is important to some people. I think I get why. That belief is so valuable to so many people because it the end is kind of terrifying otherwise. It's really it's like an airplane with no pilot. It's no, it's out of control. Who knows what's going to happen? It's all up in the air, literally. You know, um, that's the way I view it. Basically, as long as if religion is used to bring comfort to yourself and or others, I don't have a problem with it. Where I run into issues is anyone who uses religion as an excuse or smokescreen to do harm. That's obviously where I have a problem. So don't do that if you're religious. Do not use your religion as an excuse to harm others. Use your religion to be the best you possible. And that's all I have for tonight. So thank you all for hanging out with me, and go see Rise of Skywalker. Unless you don't care, then don't bother, because I'll talk about it in more detail next week with more specifics on exactly what I thought. And I have thoughts, 7 of them, all told. All right, take care, everyone. Follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and if I can, I hope to have a video out in the next couple of days regarding my Patreon, but I ran into a technical problem today, and then I lost my temper, and I said, you know what? Not going to get this video done today because I'm going to break something. Because, yeah, I have anger problems. Oh, well. All right, take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.